Hello my people, this is YamatoCannon. I want to review the patch 7.19 notes. I'm just gonna double check that I'm recording. I recorded like 30 minutes and I didn't press record. Okay, I'm recording. Welcome to 7.9, the one where World's patch is finally in the rearview mirror and we can introduce some of the bigger changes we've been working on. Holy moly. Alright. Azir. Azir. Base health. Wow. 15 base health. Juicy. Base movement speed. Alright, he can walk to lane faster. Great. Range down on soldier repositioning. Balance tweaks. Big range change. We lose 155 range. Spear length 370. So effective range. You gain a bit of range, I guess, but it's a range nerf. It's a range nerf for sure. Conquering Sands. 5 seconds cooldown on max rank, which is pretty cool. Base damage 65. Ooh, this is a big buff. Holy moly, we have 45 damage on max rank. So we got 15. We got, what is it? 20 more. No, what is it? 5, 15, 25. Okay, all right, 45. Good stuff. Good stuff. This is like the ability power ratio is also nerfed. I guess level 1 it should be weaker. Level 1 is definitely weaker, or it's the same level 1. Level 1 it should be, I mean rank 1 it should be the same. You can't skill this level 1. Rank 1 it should be the same. Rank 2 it should be better. And then at level 9 it should be better. So this is improvement DPS wise. Ability power wise it should be like how much AP do you need to reach 45? 0.3, what is it, like 250 or something? 250 AP for this to reach a breaking point, which is completely fine. You know, it's a buff. This damage is a buff, I would say. Soldiers come close together upon arrival. This is very important. This is good shit. This is the good stuff. Very big problem with Azir was that when you had 2 soldiers and you queued, they just went in a straight line and just like made this rectangular shape. If soldiers come closer together upon arrival, if they make a more triangular shape in their approach and their kind of way towards an enemy, that if you queue towards an enemy, all your soldiers can hit that target, I think that can be massive for Azir, because this has been a big issue for Azir, where having multiple soldiers in a lot of cases was just worse for you because your queue became less accurate. So hopefully this changes the problem, where if you queue with a lot of soldiers, and they just pretty much, they can all hit the target you queue towards if you landed your queue. This can be very, very big. I think this is, oof, this can be massive. The range change though is making me a bit worried. Soldier command range, wow. Alright, so another nerf on range. Cast range is longer, alright. But the range on soldier command range is a lot lower. Alright. The main thing I think about when I see these range nerfs is, you know, you can no longer in a lot of cases trade for free, which was the strength of Azir. And why he was nerfed so much was because you got hit by Azir and you couldn't do anything back. And that is the big change here, is that Azir is going to trade, and a lot of champions are going to be able to hit back. The main thing here is, you know, he's an AP carry that has sustained damage. AD carries do more sustained damage than Azir is ever going to do, right? In a sense of it, when he's hitting a single target. You know, if you are trading hits with an AD has more burst. And that is where I can see that this will become an issue. You know, Orianna, Syndra, let's take a look at the main mages that people play, right? These are 2 champions that can do, that will do better against Azir because of this range change. They have better burst trades, and Azir will have to stay in there longer, and that's going to be a problem for Azir. So, in that kind of scheme of things, I think his trades with the champions that have equal range to him now will be a lot worse, you know. Azir gains an additional 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% attack speed for 5 seconds whenever he summons a soldier while he already has 2 on the field. Alright, so this should be a buff DPS wise, but how often will you be able to commit to this? Like, how often will you be able to use it effectively? So the first thought is you'll be able to use it against tanks, right? You'll be able to use it when you kill Nashor. You'll be able to use it when you push waves. Very important to notice as well, like if your soldier disappears, right? If your soldier just disappears right before you summon the third, you still maintain the buff, you still get the attack speed, that's my understanding. Ammo recharge, the seconds, the cooldown is less early on, so that matters. Stabs deal 40, 70, 100% damage to secondary targets. Now this is a big nerf. Big nerf. Like, this is insanely big. So Azir, one redeeming factor about him was that he could push very fast with a soldier. He just needed to auto a couple of times. He was always very weak when he did that, but it was still like a redeeming factor about it. This is a massive nerf. This is really big, and actually gets me a bit worried. You know, 8 seconds, 2 seconds reduced on early ranks of W matters, which is a positive. New shield AP ratio, shifting sands, very good. I think this is a big buff. Shield duration 1.5 seconds. Alright, Azir now gains his shield upon casting E, not after hitting an enemy champion. Why? That's a very big buff. So unless you suck, this is going to be a very big buff. If Azir hits on champion, he immediately gains a W charge. Alright. Cool. Well, this, like, assessing this, Emperor's Divide, we can just, before assessing it, we can just take a look at this. 5 soldiers instead of 4, so it's a bit wider, cooldown down, and we remember from the previous patch that the ult damage got improved on both rank 2 and 3, mostly visible on rank 3. Wall soldiers now only interrupt enemy dashes over them while the soldiers themselves are moving. After reaching their final destinations, wall soldiers now behave as normal terrain. So it becomes an Anivia wall. And Kha'Zix, what else? A bunch of champions can just jump over it, no problem. It's going to be a bit wider, alright? And it's not going to be this insane terrain that is just ridiculous when you're trying to jump over it. I thought it was always really poorly designed. Or not poorly designed, it just didn't belong, I feel. It just didn't belong in the game, and it caused for some balancing headaches, because it was such a OP mechanic. It was such an OP mechanic that ruined the game for a lot of champions, and it was just such a strange mechanic to balance around. So I like the change, because I think it was something that made it impossible for Azir to be balanced. Like, when Azir was good, he was just ridiculously OP. But that could also be to the fact because he had this range where he could trade for free, and it was as if you had nothing to do against it. Even though there's a lot of champions that do counter Azir, though. Next thing is, you know, to assess Azir. Range change, I think that will make him weaker against AD carries, weaker against a lot of mages. I think that's a problem, because AD carries and mages will have bursts. Sure, Azir can commit to the all-in, and his all-in is definitely better now. His shield is guaranteed. His attack speed steroid is going to matter in all-in. His base damage of W is also higher at early ranks. So his all-in early at around like 6 is going to be his redeeming point, I think. Looking at Azir and how I would approach it if I went into a game right now is I would look for that 6 to 11 power spike, and then you would just commit to the all-in and then look on what's good, you know. I think that's what his strength is. His late game should definitely be worse. He should be better at killing tanks. His attack speed steroid will matter, but his range disparity is key when it comes to beating, of course, the other carries in the game in terms of burst damage, you know, because in those clashes, I guess Xin Zhao, Orianna, Azir, or AD against Azir, in those clashes, what matters is burst, right? And Azir is not going to be the strongest when it comes to that. The main thing is here is that the shield AP ratio is pretty hefty, and what you need to ask yourself is, what are you going to build on Azir? Are you going to build in a way where you are tankier? Maybe you go for, I don't know. There's so many items that are so good on Azir, you know, Hourglass, maybe Banshee now. You know, Banshee was fine before too. There's Rylai's, Gnasher Tooth, Void Staff. There's also Burning Face. I keep forgetting the name of this item. Holy moly. Haunting Guys builds into this Burning Face. I don't remember the name. I just remember the passive is called Eyes of Pain. I don't know why I remember that. But you guys know what I'm referring to, right? So there's a lot of premium items already for Azir, and that makes it also difficult to itemize. So we will see. I think I'll give him a try, and then maybe you can do some early game all-ins, 2 seconds buff on the early game here, base damage buff here, range a bit lower, Q a bit higher early game. I think has some redeeming factors, and maybe all-in is the way to do it at around 6 to 7, you know. The main question is also, you know, maybe I'm giving this range disparity a bit too big of a credit, because maybe it's just wrong what I'm saying, you know. Maybe the range change here doesn't matter too much, but this is just the first impression. I think when it comes to range, you just need to try it out and get a feel for it. Alright, Xin Zhao, base attack speed down, alright, attack speed scaling factor, alright, so this means that late game here will have higher attack speed if he had no items, but if he had items that give attack speed, he's going to have lower attack speed, right? Because attack speed scales with base attack speed. Every third attack deals 20, 40, 60, 80% of total AD as bonus damage. Alright, that's pretty neat. Every third attack heals Xin Zhao. How much does it heal Xin Zhao? Q, 3 Talon Strike, 15, 20, 25. Alright, bonus attack damage instead of flat. Which is pretty neat. Xin Zhao performs a quick slash in a cone in front of him, then thrusts his spear forward in line. So he hits zoom and then zoom. So it's like a Camille and then a Jarvan. Alright. Slash damage first. Thrust damage. The scaling on this is crazy. The scaling on this is crazy good. Question is, how hard is it to hit the thrust? When becomes lightning, cast time is reduced by bonus attack speed. Alright, that's interesting. So the main thing here is what I'm seeing is the total attack damage. The scaling of AD is pretty high. I think this is pretty interesting. I think this is pretty strong looking at it at face value. The AD scaling is pretty good, and the base damage is also really high. Thinking about it, that it has 240 base damage if you hit both of it, and it also slows people. It has some very decent numbers. Level 1, it's not that juicy as 60 damage, right, if you hit both, but putting 1 point in it gives you 45 more damage. So 45 more damage on each rank, it's a pretty big number. What I want to check though is, I don't know, like the cooldowns is not showing up here at all. I'm just gonna open up LOL wiki Xin Zhao. Right. Xin Zhao, okay. Cooldown goes down when you skill it up. Target range 1000. So this is like, his spear is long. You know, this is pretty long range. Both strikes deals 50% damage against minions, benefits from 33.3% of Xin Zhao's lifesteal, and the duration on his other abilities paused during the effect. Okay. So like, his buffs, they get paused while he's doing this move. Can he move while he's doing this move? I'm assuming he can, if I compare it to Camille. I'm hoping and I'm assuming he can move while he does this. 2 strikes over 0.6.0.4 to 0.4 based on bonus attack speed seconds. So that's not like too long. Alright. Next thing that comes up is Audacious Charge. Slow duration. Well, they gave W a slow. I think they should just maybe remove the slow from this. Casting Audacious Charge grants Xin Zhao. So you hit this, you slow for 0.5, then you do Wind becomes Lightning, and then you Q with 3 Talent Strike to reduce the cooldown of all your spells. What is crazy to me is 40% attack speed steroid is crazy high. What is this comparable to? I'm trying to think of a spell that gives you like a similar steroid. Let's just look at Tristana. What is Tristana Q? Tristana Q is 30, and this is like one spell, you know. This is one spell that only gives you bonus attack speed, nothing else. So in contrast, of course, Xin Zhao is a completely different champion, but gold value wise, this is insane. This is very, very crazy. The cooldown of E, let's go back to Xin Zhao page. The cooldown of E is 12 seconds, goes down only with Q. So skilling Q gives you lower cooldown on E theoretically, because you could E, Q, 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 which would put you, like I guess, would put E on, what is it, 9-second cooldown theoretically if you get all hits off, and then 5 seconds. Like if you could get 2 Qs off, 2 rotations of Q off to reduce the E cooldown, and you could potentially maintain the bonus attack speed all the time. Potentially, right? Should be very hard to do unless like you're fighting top lane and it's a heavy all-in. But the fact that this is 40% at rank 1 is crazy. This is crazy, crazy good. But the way I see it right now is that you max E, or not max E, you get E level 1, works very well with your passive, right? Passive is pretty huge. And then you go Q level 2 for that juicy Xin Zhao classic all-in, and then you max W. That's what I would try if I go into game. Might be completely wrong. Maybe you just need to max Q still, because the AD ratios on this spell is still pretty good. But I'm just seeing the fact that you gain 45 damage per skill up, and that means so much to me. That is a massive, massive damage increase by just putting a point, right? Let's take a look at his ultimate. For 3 seconds after casting Crescent Guard, Xin Zhao will negate all damage originating from champions further than 450 units away. Duration is extended by attacking champions. Interesting. I won't see the numbers again because this is not really helpful. The last enemy champion targeted by Xin Zhao basic attacks or Audacious Charge is challenged for 3 seconds. I'm assuming it works the same, that you don't knock and stun people. Yeah, non-challenge enemies are also knocked back and stunned for 0.6 seconds. So this stun is new, right? I'm assuming this stun is new because I don't remember him stunning people in the past. For the next 3 seconds, Xin Zhao has awareness, negating all damage received from enemies 450 units away. Basic attacks and other spellcasts extend the duration by 0.3 seconds, but the remaining duration cannot exceed 3 seconds. So you want to, yeah, I guess you don't need to really space your spells out because it's only 0.3, right? So you just use your spells and maybe the duration will go up to, what is it, 5-6 seconds depending on the situation, which is pretty neat. Pretty good, you know, considering if you fight, let's say you are playing Xin Zhao and then your team has, let's say a Cho'Gath, and you're hitting him and you ult him and it does percentage of target current health and all these juicy things, and eventually, you know, there will be like a DPS race and you can't take damage. I think there's a lot of uses for this ult, right? It's still the same old ult where it's still good in the 1v1. Sure, you lost your resistances, so that matters, right? But I can see a lot of good uses for this ultimate. Personally, I am excited about Xin Zhao. I think he'll have a place. I think this can be really OP. The way I would build is Black Cleaver. I would do the Jarvan build. You do Black Cleaver and Titanic Hydra, and then, you know, you go GA and Stoneplate. I think that's the way you want to do it right here. Every third attack heals Xin Zhao. I just want to check how much that is. Based on level and 10% AD. Yeah, so it's not too bad at all. I think Xin Zhao is definitely interesting. I think Xin Zhao as a champion maybe falls off. I think he doesn't scale as well as Jarvan or Cho'Gath, but I think he definitely should be able to snowball top lane matchups very heavily. And what I'm excited about is this W and how it functions. So this is something we need to pay attention to. I'm gonna try playing Xin Zhao, put 1 point in E, Q second, and then W. The main question here is maybe W makes him into a good jungler. Maybe W makes him into a good jungler. He gets attack speed, he heals. I think as a jungler, this could be very, very interesting. Let's see if both strikes deals 50% damage against minions, right? So this matters. This matters. It makes him not that strong of a jungler as I originally hoped. It would be too OP if it did full damage because E is also AoE, right? So I still think it might be worth to try Xin Zhao jungle. I think we can leave Xin Zhao now and move on. Aatrox, now unstoppable during Q's descent. Our bonus attack range increase. Alright, so it means during the portion, descent means not when he goes up, so he can still be cancelled if it's if he's in the air and like is starting to go up in the air. Like his jump is like this, right? It's like a hill. When he's going up to the hill, he can get cancelled, but when he's going down the hill, he cannot get cancelled. So this matters, right? So Aatrox engaging is better, but him disengaging is still shit. So you can still get flayed by Thresh when you're trying to get away. So Q is more for the commitment and the engage, which is good, right? It was really obnoxious to play against Janna, Thresh, or most supports in the game and play Aatrox, and you just can't get a good Q off. And that is usually where the payoff for Aatrox is. Our massive additional attack range, I don't think this matters too much. Aatrox as a champion, you know, is very good against tanks because he cannot die against tanks, you know, in top lane. In top lane, you know, speaking to some Aatrox one tricks, you know, how to make Aatrox work is, you know, you go Gunblade, or not Gunblade, you go for Cutlass and go for the Blade of the Ruined King. A lot of teams or players, they buy Tiamat, and that's inherently wrong because you want to always hit the wave, right? And if you are hitting the wave, then you're going to be in a winning position. But if the enemy champion doesn't allow you to hit the wave, let's say they have a Renekton or a Jace or a Cannon, the only way for you to contest the wave is to all in. You don't win by hitting the wave and trying to push. And in the situation where you can push, you know, then it's a lot better for you to still have Blade of the Ruined King. So I think that the itemization of Tiamat is just wrong because it doesn't really cover the weakness of Aatrox. And the weakness of Aatrox is that in some situations he just has to all in to be able to do anything towards the wave. Like if he's playing against Renekton, Aurelia, or Jace, he has a really, really bad time because they can constantly trade with him and he can't really stack up his passive. And in those cases, he just needs to be stronger in all-in, and that's what Blade of the Ruined King gives you. Cutlass is the best all-in item you can buy on Aatrox. Well, that was just a bit of a sideline on Aatrox, but my point still stands. I still think that Aatrox, as long as we don't see changes to what is called Bramble Vest, then Aatrox is still going to be garbage. Alright, Caitlyn. Base health reduced by a shit ton. 50 base health reduced. Is this Sona levels now? No, I think Sona is lower. Health growth stat. Alright. At base attack speed is raised again. Is this the same number as it's been before? Bonus attack speed growth 4%. Alright. So this is pretty much the same old Caitlyn, right? A bit weaker early, but I think it's negligible. I think you can ignore it. I think this puts Caitlyn in the same boat as in the past, which I think is really, really good. 67% to the enemies beyond the first. This is also, I guess, a reverse. I don't remember the nerfs on Caitlyn exactly. I don't remember how bad Caitlyn was before, like how good Caitlyn was before they nerfed her. But definitely, I think this is going to put Caitlyn back on the map. Hedgehog can now proc on turret. You know, the main thing is these numbers don't matter too much, like the health numbers, because where you pick Caitlyn or where you want to pick Caitlyn is against Tristana, against the Twitch, etc. You know, where do you, like, you at level 10? At level 10 you get your HP back up, right? Considering you are 50 HP, you have 50 HP less than before. You get 5 HP more, so level 10 you compensate for that. But the way I view it, the way I see the situation is that the situation you want to play Caitlyn in is against Twitch, Tristana, and those ADs that you just want to punish, right? And that is going to be like unchanged, not unchanged, but it's going to be better for Caitlyn because she actually scales and she can do something. So her having lower health in those matchups won't matter that much, because she just outranges them, outpushes them, and can still do very nasty things. Her obnoxiousness under the turret will be slightly worse, I assume now, because of the trap duration. But on top of that, like the cooldown to get traps up is also reduced, so that matters. Slightly nerf in late game, right? Bonus headshot damage is no longer total attack damage. It's 40. This is pretty neat. You know, I think. Like, I haven't run the numbers on this. It's just hard to kind of just do the math straight off the bat right now. I'm trying to think if it's a loss of damage in the early, or it should be a loss of damage early, I think, yeah? Definitely should be. I think it should be a loss of damage at all stages, but I could be wrong. I have to do the math on it. But I think this is a good step forward for Caitlyn, reducing her numbers and not changing her identity and making her more clunky. I think that's the way you want to do it, you know, because there's been too many times where there's been nerf to champions and they just are hot garbage because they just removed a mechanic like Nidalee or Graves or Caitlyn, where when they nerfed her attack speed and she just felt a lot clunkier than before. You know, you play a champion, you get used to the attack speed numbers, you get used to the overall flow and feel of the champion, and it's just not fun at all to relearn a champion because they wanted to reduce the attack speed per level or base attack speed of a champion, you know. So the way I see it right now is this is a good change. Okay, I think definitely this is positive for Caitlyn, and she doesn't seem to be like, she's not going to be that OP, I feel, but maybe I'm wrong. Headshot can now proc on turrets, you know. That's interesting. There might be scenarios where that's worse, you know, because you don't want to waste your headshot on the turret. You want to just stack it up and then use it to harass your enemy. Will be interesting. I think Caitlyn is definitely back on the map. E cooldown increased at early ranks. Okay, attack range, big buff on attack range. Basic attack damage changed. Alright. Attack damage growth stat lowered. Attack speed bigger. Missile speed, base health buff. Okay. Health growth stat. So early, she's stronger. Yeah. Let's just see the rest of it before we comment. Janna now benefits from Tailwind's 8% move speed increase. Cool. Janna's basic attacks and single target spells deal bonus magic damage equal to 35% of her bonus movement speed. Wow. Janna is budget Lulu now, or what? Tailwind's 8% movement speed increase counts towards its bonus magic damage, so at Janna's base movement speed of 335, Tailwind grants 9.38 bonus magic damage by itself. So now the AD changes make sense, right? So level 1, she's pretty strong, damage-wise, on her auto attack, and her range. Her range is pretty hefty. This is big range. She outranges some of the ADs. Howling Gale, 12 seconds at all ranks, so this is also buff. 1000 based on charge time. Okay, that's a buff as well. Howling Gale now always reaches its endpoint in 1.5 seconds, meaning a fully charged cast moves 75 faster than an instant cast. I'm not sure what this means. I have to think, what does this mean? Howling Gale now always reaches its endpoint in 1.5 seconds, meaning a fully charged cast moves 75 faster than an instant cast. How is this any different from the past? Is it just Oh, alright, I understand. Okay. So the full Howling Gale always takes 0.5 seconds to reach its full endpoint, and even though you charge it longer, it has a longer distance to cover, it still reaches its endpoint at the same kind of pace. So this is definitely a buff, man. Imagine that tornado coming in hot, you know, coming in hot, and it will move freaking fast. Pretty good. Cooldown 8 seconds, soul duration 2 seconds. Range 550 measured between hitbox edges. Range increase versus large targets, decrease versus small ones. Alright, so this is Battle Janna the way to do it? I don't know, my first impression is why would you... Lulu is going to be better than Janna early. And like if I compare this to Lulu, I think Lulu is going to be better early. Janna, you could still argue that she outscales. I'm assuming they're giving her this so she can use, I don't know. This is, she's basically Lulu now. She's just a Lulu. This is a massive nerf, really, really big nerf. Like you still have to max E, right? Because nothing else is really interesting to max. You still have to max E, so it might not be that terrible, but 8 seconds cooldown on rank 1, you know, she still has a lot more to provide in early fights, right? Because her auto attack range is bigger and she actually does a bit more damage. So it might not be that terrible when the enemy team want to trade on your AD when your Eye of the Storm is down. I think this is something we just have to pay attention to. I don't know how... Like my first impression is that the other range supports are going to be better than Janna. In lane, she still scales good because her E still lands on the same number, and she still has the ultimate that is very, very powerful. So maybe it's a worse version of Lulu in lane, but later on it's going to be better. But the thing is, with the changes, you know, oh, she does more damage with auto attacks, that doesn't really help her late game at all, right? And we will see. We will see. I think it's definitely interesting, but it doesn't get me that excited. I don't think this is... There's a lot of champions that fulfill this role already, like the out-attacking thing, where they are heavy harassers in lane. Outside of lane, this damage is not going to matter, right? Bonus damage equal to 35% of the move speed is not going to matter at all. It's just not useful, you know? Unless you start playing Janna in some different lane and all of a sudden it's going to be OP and people are going to compare this to Hecarim passive and things like this. W passive bonus armor is now tripled when Granite Shield is active. Malphite has received a lot of buffs recently, I think. Okay, so breaking his shield is harder, but at the same time they nerf the percentage. So I think in total this is a nerf, no? In total is it a nerf? Considering that how big is Malphite shield? I need to check because I don't know, my Malphite is not my go-to champion in a lot of cases. Malphite, 10% maximum health. So if it's tripled, so let's say it's max rank, right? 30%, it's tripled, you get 90%. You lose 5%. So for 10% of your HP, you have 90% armor. And then for 100% of your HP, you have 5% less. So in total, I don't know if this math I don't know if this math is correct, but in total, like in a long fight, it should be a nerf, right? In the beginning, it's better, way better, like it's a lot better in the beginning. So much better in the beginning. But in a long fight, if an AD is hitting you, then it doesn't pay off, if my understanding is correct. But I don't think this is too interesting. Who cares? It's like Malphite, you know? As long as Fiora and all these champions are countered by Bramblevest, there's other tanks to play that are better than Malphite. Command Q attack. Missile speed. Wow. This is a big buff. This is really important because you max Q on Orianna, you know, it's all about landing those Qs and all about maintaining a steady harassment on your enemy. So this is a big buff for sure. Missile speed makes it easy to hit, of course. If buffered, will fire at the destination when the ball has stopped moving. Okay, so this is nerfed, right? This is nerfed for sure, because you could fire W a bit before it lands and you could deal the damage before, but maybe this missile speed compensates for the W and it's still as easy to hit before. R, command shockwave, if buffer will fire at the destination when the ball has stopped. This is also like a slight nerf, right? I think the W change is bigger than the R change, but maybe the missile speed will compensate. I think this is overall a buff for Orianna though. Ornn. Ornn's mana cost will tune upwards on release to compensate for his ability to purchase items in lane, but it looks like we were too aggressive. Base mana, mana at all ranks, searing charge. Alright. So, his early game is better, yeah? His early game is better. I don't think Ornn's early game was that bad for him. I think in a lot of cases he just gets kited around. I think Ornn is interesting in melee matchups. I feel like Ornn has some potential, but I have not unlocked it myself yet. And there will be a time where everyone's like, wow, Ornn is so OP, it was so obvious all along, and we will all be idiots when that happens. But that's not the time yet. The time has not come. We will see in the future. Vayne. Q bonus damage increased but no longer benefits from critical strike. R now extends duration when a target Vayne has damage in the last 3 seconds dies. Ooh. Bonus damage no longer increases when the attack critically strikes. Okay. But they buffed the number massively, man. Crazy, crazy number. This is a buff, I would say. The thing that was obnoxious about Vayne, right? If you played solo queue and all of a sudden, like, you're playing top lane, enemy Vayne is fed for some reason, and he has some crit, and then he just one-shots people pretty much, you know. So that was, I think, it's a healthy change. Even though, like, competitively and at a higher level, Vayne is just non-existent because it's a dog champion that cannot push. In solo queue, it still saw some play, right? Minimum damage. This is good for pushing, right? But still not a big enough change for it to matter. I like that they make the numbers more nice. But yeah, it's a nerf. It's a nerf. You need to... It's a nerf, yeah, for sure. If a champion dies within 3 seconds of being damaged by Vayne, final hours duration extend by 4 seconds. So... she just snowballs fights more, but usually Vayne fights were pretty snowbally in the first place. So might be some situations where this is clutch. I just want to check the Vayne tumble cooldown. Maybe you can tumble another time, and yeah, maybe you can pretty much tumble another time if you max it, right? And then it can be pretty clutch. This can be pretty clutch sometimes, but Vayne. So for me, it's really uninteresting as a champion. I don't care too much about it. Base health regen and health regen growth increased. W cooldown reduced. Alright, Veigar as a champion, you know, is something that has been going under the radar a lot. I think him reaching his AP numbers is quite easy, you know. It's not that big of an investment. I don't think it's much worse than, for example, being a Caitlyn or some sort of champion like that, because I feel like you can reach the breaking point with Veigar where you one-shot enemies quite easily, but the big problem is that the meta AP carries are just more useful and can punish Veigar at the same time. Veigar still scales phenomenally well and can reach points in the game where it's an impossibility to deal with him because he has so high AP numbers, so Veigar definitely might have some kind of place, you know. Maybe you can pick it into some mages and do fine. I would have to play it more, but the times I've actually seen it being played, I don't think it was too terrible, you know. Let's just take a look at the changes. Base health regen, base attack range is higher, health regen growth stat. Okay, it's a nice buff for sure. 8 seconds at all ranks. I think that's also a pretty big buff. Dark Matter is a very OP spell. It's like an AoE spell with 1-to-1 AP scaling, which, you know, considering Veigar and how high AP numbers it gets, that's pretty strong, right? On paper, Veigar looks really strong. I remember when they reworked Veigar, everyone was thinking how Veigar is going to be really obnoxiously OP because of what he's going to stack on minions, etc. But it hasn't really happened yet. Every 50 stacks of Phenomenal Evil lowers Dark Matter's cooldown by 10%. Now this sounds crazy to me. How does this work now? Veigar. Let's see if LolWiki is better at explaining. Okay. Yeah, so it's the formula is, it's multiplicative. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. Alright. So at 1000, 50, 100, 200, like already those numbers are crazy high. How does like cooldown reduction has to come first, right? So let's say you have 40% cooldown reduction, and let's say you have 100 stacks. Like the number is pretty low. Like the number that the cooldown is really low. So this is an interesting change, to say the least. Is it what Veigar needs? What does he lack as a champion? Well, Banshee is pretty good against Veigar, makes him really weak. He has like his stun is very hard to land, even though it's good at controlling space, right? It's very powerful at controlling space. The reason a lot of people played Veigar in support was because his stun was like guaranteed, but right now it's no longer guaranteed, so it's slightly weaker. I don't know. It's very hard to balance a champion like Veigar, because if you give him too much power in early game, he just outscales anything in the game and he takes over, right? But I think Veigar has a place. Definitely think Veigar has a place. Maybe you can play it into some mages and then reach those breaking points where you one-shot the enemy. But the problem right now is Banshee's Veil and Mercs are just too good. So we will see. We will see. Items. Ardent Sensor. Whoa. Ardent Sensor no longer restores health. Healing or shielding an allied champion now also grants you Ardent Sensor buff. Now that's why we changed Janna. Yeah. We gave her that juicy attack range so she can use Ardent Sensor. Yeah, I see what you did there, right? Alright. Well, this is good. Like the lifesteal on Ardent Sensor was ridiculous. It just you just didn't need to buy any lifesteal. Together with Warrior's Bloodlust, you just didn't need to buy any lifesteal items at all, and it was just too OP. So I think it's a good change. Still, like the attack speed and on-hit damage is buffed, so I still think Ardent Sensor meta is still alive and well, you know? So the attack speed numbers are still high and the AD numbers are still high, so this is still alive and well. Cost increased, damage reflected decreased. No longer applies grievous wounds to non-champions. Alright, damage reflected 15, gold 100. So it costs 100 more. Alright. So this is you would still buy Bramblevest in the situation you would buy it in. You know, it's a decent nerf. It was too hard of a counter to a lot of champions. It still counters those champions, but slightly less. I still think it doesn't change the place Bramblevest has in the game and how much other people will complain about it, like Hashinshin. Thornmail increased, alright, don't care. Spell shield duration increased, cooldown decreased. Oh, this is decent, I guess. It's still a strange item, like it's a strange item in the sense that most ADs that are in mid lane or want to buy this, they are just not that useful in the game right now. You know, maybe Talon can use this, or maybe this will make Jace buy it, but I doubt it. I just think that most other items are just better, just like they are saying here. Guardian Angel, Malmortius, they're just better. Alright, Righteous Glory nerfed. Alright, everyone's just buying this. This was like the greatest of all time item. This was the GOAT item for tanks. So it's a good nerf, you know, good nerf. In the sense that will people buy it less? Maybe will people buy it less? I'm not too sure. It's still, you know, 150 gold. It's still a big chunk of money. Zeke's Convergence. Burn damage more front loaded. Phosphite Covenant now procs when the passive slow is applied. I'm just gonna go on my wikis, man. Zeke's Convergence. Casting your ultimate near your ally summons a local force stone for 10 seconds. Your allies' attacks burn the targets for 50% bonus magic damage. Alright, so the way it works is okay, so 25% on first hit, and then 50% in total if you don't hit the target anymore, right? Slow burn. Froststorm no longer ignites from basic attacking a burning enemy, now ignites when it slows a burning enemy. I need to do some research here. Impromptu research. Slowing a burning enemy ignites your Froststorm to deal 40 magic damage per second, slow by 40% instead for 30 seconds. Okay, so when you fight together, alright, I understand. I don't know. When this item came out, I thought it would be really OP. It wasn't, you know. It wasn't. Maybe this is the thing that will push it to that limit. The first thought that I had when I saw this was that I'm gonna buy this on Blitzcrank and I'm gonna have a real good time with that in mind. But that wasn't the case. I still think it might have a place. I think this is a good buff, that it's upfront damage, because the main thing was that you didn't really get the effectiveness of the damage on the item when the buff didn't sack, or it just got reapplied. So this still matters, right? The fact that it's front loaded, I think it matters. It might be the thing that just pushes this item to be the next Ardent Sensor. Might be the case. This is a hefty chunk and change of what it costs. I need to just check what the build path is. The build path is not too bad, right? It has some good stats. It's not too terrible. I think it's a good item to buy on some melee supports, for sure. Especially when all the other items are getting nerfed. I know that Knight's Vow. It's called Knight's Vow. Why am I forgetting the name of all these items? Yeah, Knight's Vow. Especially Knight's Vow got nerfed last patch, right? And there are things that are happening to other support items. I think trying Zeke's Convergence is definitely worth it. Spell Shields. Spell Shields now block only the first ability that it hits, rather than every ability that hits at the same time the shield is broken. Well, fantastic, man. Right. Scoreboard ping. You can now ping everything on the scoreboard to knock yourself out. Well, there you go. The fight on toxicity is over for Riot Games. They are now supporting it. Nah, I'm just kidding. But imagine, if you're 0-2, you're gonna get pinged, man. You're gonna get pinged. Holy moly, it will be crazy. Crazy ping city, man. Alright, so main thing, I think Azir is not good enough. Xin Zhao, I think Xin Zhao might be really good. Might be completely useless. We will see. I think Xin Zhao definitely buy Black Cleaver, Titanic Hydra. Maybe it'll be the shit. Don't buy attack speed anymore. It's just not that worth it anymore. You get massive attack speed, Steroid of E. I think this champion can be really OP. Aatrox, not good enough. I think it's definitely a good change where you can engage better with Aatrox, but it's a good buff. It's a good buff. I will give them that. Caitlyn is back. Janna with the new Ardent Sensor might be useful, but I think Lulu is just a better version of Janna right now. And maybe I'm completely wrong, because this range and her damage still is quite hefty, and maybe you run like movement speed quints, and maybe you pick up a pair of boots early on and you do like high numbers of damage. Maybe that will be the case, and that could be interesting. That could definitely be interesting. I think Q is a good change. Zephyr is also a buff. Maybe we'll see something like Janna level 2 all-in, where you use W and E and you have like a bunch of damage. Maybe the play pattern for Janna would just be completely different. Well, it will be different for sure. She isn't a shield bot anymore, like E-girls and E-boys rejoice, right? But definitely, I think it's going to be weaker than it was in the past, because I think a lot of champions already filled this role that they're trying to push Janna into. It's all about numbers in the end, right? It's all about numbers and trying it out. All in all, Orianna buff, Ornn slight buff. I think after a couple of patches, Ornn is gonna be permabanned. We will see it. Someone will figure it out, you know. But that should be it. I think that leaves it on a good note. 7.19. Excited about the runes reforge. We will see what will happen. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy your Caitlyns and your Xin Zhaos. Take care. Peace.